Ride the beat, y'all. Roll with me, y'all. Feel the heat, y'all. Burning, burning. Ride the beat, y'all. Roll with me, y'all. Feel the heat, y'all. Burning, burning. Listen to the rhythm coming to your bones. Can you feel the pulse as it enters your soul? Turn the music up and catch the flow. Rocking it, make 'em play hockey.
All of the information here is presented for information purposes only. It does not constitute an investment strategy or professional advice. Please seek professional counsel when making financial investments. Proprietary information belongs to the proprietary owners and cannot and shall not be used unless the written permission is being given to use such information, to act on it, to capitalize from it, or to utilize any of its strategies. They remain the owners of the City of Ottawa and Bernard Couchman. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Bernard Couchman. I do things differently. I manage differently. I run things differently. I organize differently. I structure differently. Everything that you are used to, I do it differently. I am not you. For a town hall discussion on the housing solution for the Ottawa municipality, and can be modular and templated out to the rest of Canada. So let's get to it. Let's get to it. Opportunity is here for everyone to win. Not everybody is designed to win. Some people want to lose. They have no desire to win. They want to be the victim every single time. So when we and my campaign team are speaking and are acting on, we are not including those that want to lose. There's nothing we can do about their mental condition. There's absolutely nothing we can do about that. So we don't include them in the discussion. So if you want to lose, do not engage, because it's mixing oil and water. So you have to have a winning mentality. Winning mentality means you want to win in life. You want to win the battles in your mind every day. The little battles, not the big ones. The smallest ones. Win them and they compound. Lose and they multiply. The important thing is to remember, this is not my first rodeo. I'm going to present you with the financial report, the investment and debt for the City of Ottawa, 2025. Enjoy this presentation. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Housing remains one of the most complex issues in the City of Ottawa, in the province of Ontario, and in the entire Dominion of Canada. Now, we have the smartest people in the world living in this country. We have the strongest people in the world living in this country. We have the hardest working people in the world living in this country. Therefore, we have the opportunity to solve this issue here and now, not then. This is our watch, this is our time, and the solutions are simple. If everybody wins, everybody wins. I'm going to offer a little solution. As a businessman and a philanthropist, I care very much about the needy. I also care about the sustainability of this planet. I'm going to offer you the solutions. And the conversation that's in the current campaign trail is not about what I'm talking about. But the moment I post this, the world is going to get to see and hear the shift in the tone, the language, and the numbers in the campaign trail in Ottawa for the Ottawa municipal election. Remember, the strategy remains the same, the execution is different. I know the world is listening. I know they're watching. I've seen governments overseas that have used our ideas that I've put forth, and I know they're paying attention. It's important. The most important thing for this city is equitable opportunities. Our differently able population, small as it may, still requires equal opportunity for employment, design, and a say in the development and the infrastructure building outright for the city. They are our population. They are our fathers, our mothers, our brothers, sisters, daughters, and sons. We have to build and design with everyone in mind, not just sexual orientation that you can control. I'm talking about genetic DNA things that are out of your control, which nature has given to you. Now, we must include the differently able in our design. That way we can maximize the use of our resources rather than having to build out, than having to retrofit to adopt. We have this population among us, and they are mostly unemployed because we don't see it from their angles. The development strategy and the housing strategy that I'm putting forth includes every single one of them. Now, first and foremost, this is an investment, so we expect returns. Not predatory returns, but enough returns to satisfy the citizens and maintain our minimum debt to eliminate our debt as a city. It's a PPP strategy, public-private partnership. The public being the City of Ottawa, the private being the people that's investing, the partnership being Unity in Ottawa via Bernard Couchman. Bringing the two parties together as one because we live here, we work here, we play here. The housing strategy is very simple. You must be earning. You must be a citizen. You must be an eligible voter. You must live in the municipality of Ottawa. It doesn't matter if you're earning minimum wage or if you're earning 7 to 8 figures. You have access to these buildings that are mixed-use buildings. You pay your mortgage based on your income. You own the unit when your mortgage is paid for. You have your house for life. We help you maintain that so that when you sell, equitable opportunity, you can advance in the future. On the payment side, the city remains zero debted to this, and we get a minimum interest. The investors are the citizens only of the city. You invest as much or as little as you possibly can, you get your return. It's a fixed return between 5 to 10%. You get your return, the city gets its percentage for being the land steward, land lease for 100 years to a developer, and we get a percentage for the transitioning and the administration of it. Everybody wins. Remember, now that this copywritten intellectual property has been put forth on the internet, but it's designed for the City of Ottawa, my constituents in the municipality of Ottawa, in Ontario, in Canada, to put an end to our housing problem. Every citizen, voting citizen, will have a house that they can call their home, dignity for them to build, and the respect for them to continue contributing to being the citizens of this great nation that we call Canada. Just so everybody knows, I am a card-holding conservative. I've been a card-holding conservative. My friend, Joy Tabirge, is a liberal. Yes, that Joy Tabirge. My friend, Sarah Emery, is a liberal. Yes, that Sarah Emery. My friend, Hawakaba, is a liberal. Yes, that Hawakaba. These great Canadians are liberals. They're my friends. They respect me, they love me, they honor me, they support me. But they have their views. I respect them, I love them, I honor them, I support them wherever I can. But I am a conservative. They are liberals. The beauty about this country is that we can have these views and still be friends and even business partners and help mentor each other. That's the beauty about this beautiful country. And even though I'm a card-holding conservative, and most of you obviously aren't paying attention for my views, then wake up and start paying attention. Because I am different. I do things different. I manage different. I run things different. I structure different. I strategize different. My outcomes are always different than yours. Why? Because I am not you. Now, enjoy this presentation of the City of Ottawa's investment and debt to 2025. H2O boy. Subject 2025 Investments and Debt Report. File number ACS 2026FCSFIN0011. Report to Finance and Corporate Services Committee on 2nd June 2026 and Council 10th June 2026. Submitted on May 22nd, 2026 by Isabel Jasmine, Deputy City Treasurer, Corporate Finance, Finance and Corporate Service Department. Contact person, Stephen Dostanek. Manager, Treasury, Corporate Finance, Finance and Corporate Service Department. 613-580-2424, extension 10566. Stephen Dostanek at ottawa.ca. STEVAN DOSTANIC at ottawa.ca. Ward, citywide. Object, Rapport 2025 sur la investment à la dette, numéro de dossier CS 2026 FCS FIN 0011. Rapport au comité des finances à des services organisant le 2nd June 2026 at Council 10th June 2026. Sommes le 22nd May 2026 par Isabelle Jasmine, Trésorier municipal adjoint, Service de finance municipale, Direction générale des finances et de services organisationnels. Personnel ressources, Stéphane Dostanek, Gaspinière, Trésorier, Service de finance municipale, Direction générale de finance et de services organisationnels. 613-580-2424, extension poste 10566. Stephen Dostanek at ottawa.ca. Quartier à la Reconcile de la Ville. Report recommendations. That the Finance and Corporate Service Committee recommend that Council receive the results of the city's investments in 2025 as required by Ontario Regulation 43897 as amended, Section 8.1, and the City of Ottawa Investment Policy. Receive the 2025 long-term and short-term debt summary. Receive the city's statement of investment policies and procedures required by the province prudent investor regulation. Ontario Regulations 43897, Section 1.8. Receive the Ottawa Investment Board's annual report. Receive the Treasury Service Contracts report as required by delegation of Ottawa Authority by Law 2025-69, Schedule B, Section 15, Bracket 2. Recommendations, the report. Q. Le Comité des Finances et des Services Organisationnels recommande au Council de prendre acte des résultats des placements de la ville pour 2025 conformément à paragraphe 8.1 du régulation de Ontario 43897 dans sa version modifiée à l'effet politique en matière de placement de la ville d'Ottawa. Prendre acte de sommaire de la date courte à long terme pour 2025. Prendre acte de l'occurrence des politiques et des procédures d'investissement de la ville requiert ajout de requirements sur l'investissement. Prudent de la province, paragraphe 1.8 du règlement de l'Ontario 43897. Prendre acte du rapport annuel de Council d'investissement d'Ottawa. Prendre acte du rapport concernant le contrat de service de recevoir conformément l'annexe B, paragraphe 15.2 du règlement municipal sur la délégation de province. Background. Investments Authority and Reporting. Under Section 418 of the Municipal Act of 2001, the City of Ottawa is authorized to invest funds not immediately required for municipal purposes. On June 7, 2022, Council approved the adoption of the Prudent Investor Regime, ACS 2022 FSD FIN 0005, enabling the cities to pursue a broader risk-managed investment framework for funds not immediately required. In 2025, the city implemented a prudent investor regime, resulting in the investment portfolio being split into two components, each governed by its own investment policies. The portion of the city's investments managed in-house continue to be managed under Ontario Regulation 438/97 as amended, which prescribes conservative eligibility criteria and portfolio constraints for municipal investments. In the prudent portfolio, the endowment fund and other funds not immediately required are managed through the Ottawa Investment Board. For both the internal managed portfolio and the prudent portfolio, regulation and the city's applicable investment policies require regular reporting on investment performance. Section 8, Bracket 1 of the Ontario Regulation 438/97 requires that an annual investment report be submitted to Council. The city's investment policy, ACS 2015, CMR FIN 0044, and the Prudent Portfolio Statement of Investment Policies. The procedures, ACS 2025, FCS FIN 0007, provide overreaching governance and are reviewed annually. Debt authority and reporting. The City of Ottawa is authorized under Section 401 of the Municipal Act 2001 to issue long-term debt for capital projects. Ontario Regulation 403/02, as amended, establishes a set of conservative debt issuance measures and standards considered suitable for Ontario municipalities. The Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer, in accordance with the criteria set under the Delegation of Authority by Law 2025-69 and provincial regulations, is authorized to proceed with one or more debt issue or bank loan arrangements at any time during the year throughout the term of Council. The City's Administration of Capital Financing and Debt Policy, ACS 2007, CRS FIN 0007, approved by Council on April 11, 2007, establishes objectives, authorized financing instruments, reporting requirements and responsibilities, and governs the administration and management of capital financing and debt issuance activities. The policy is reviewed on a regular basis and was most recently updated in 2021. The City of Ottawa is authorized under Section 407 of the Municipal Act 2001 to issue short-term debt to meet current expenditures of the city until taxes are collected. In accordance with the Short-Term Borrowing Bylaw 2023-355, the Mayor and the Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer, are authorized to borrow for the purpose of meeting the current expenditures of the city. The city maintains a $100 million line of credit facility and a $1 billion promissory note facility in accordance with Short-Term Borrowing Bylaws 2023-355. The short-term borrowing limit aligns with the prescribed legislation requirements pursuant to Section 407, 2001, SO 2001, C25, as amended, based on budgeted revenue for 2025. This limit would be estimated at $1.24 billion in temporary cash flow borrowing at any one time. Treasury Service Contracts Report. According to Bylaw 2025-069, Schedule B, Section 15, the Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer, is delegated the authority to purchase fiscal agency or depository services for regulated financial institutions, or services related to the sale, redemption, and distribution of public debt, including loans and government bonds, notes, and other securities. Financial services respecting the management of government financial assets and liabilities. Treasury operations, i.e., treasury operations, including ancillary advisory and information services, whether or not delivered by a financial institution, provided that the form and content of the contract has received approval from the city solicitor and the purchase is within approved budget projections for the term of the contract. Discussion. In 2025, Canada's economy experienced moderating growth. Real gross domestic product, GDP, increased by approximately 1.7%, reflecting slower momentum compared to prior years as higher interest rates and global trade uncertainty impacted activity, particularly in the second half of the year. Inflation continued to normalize toward the Bank of Canada's target range. On an average annual basis, the Consumer Price Index, CPI, rose 2.1% in 2025, supported by lower energy prices and easing mortgage interest cost pressures. As inflation pressures eased and economic growth slowed, the Bank of Canada shifted to monetary easing. Over the course of 2025, the overnight target rate was reduced to 2.25%, reflecting a cumulative series of rate cuts aimed at supporting economic activity while maintaining inflation near target. Canadian equity markets delivered strong performance in 2025. The S&P and TSX Composite Index rose by approximately 29%, one of its strongest annual returns this century, driven largely by gains in the energy and mineral sectors, supported by elevated commodity prices and improved investor confidence. City of Ottawa returns. The city's investments are subject to the legislative guidelines prescribed by Ontario regulation. Table 1 below shows the average portfolio balancing during 2025 and the income earned for the year. Documents 1 outlines the investment portfolio by asset class, term, and credit exposure for both internally managed and externally managed investments. Prudent investor portfolio. Table 1, average portfolio balance and income in 2025. Internally managed. Portfolio, money market, fixed income, liquidity funds, sinking fund. Average portfolio value, money per million. Money market, 1.5664 million. Fixed income, 981.3 million. Total liquidity funds, 2547.7. Sinking fund, 510.6. Earned income, 51.6. Money market. Fixed income, 16. Total liquidity funds, 67.6. Sinking fund, 18.4. Investment returns. Money market, 3.30. Fixed income, 1.63. Total liquidity funds, 2.65. Sinking fund, 3.60. Table 2. Average portfolio balance and income in 2025. Prudent investor portfolio. Prudent investor. Average portfolio, earned income, investment. Prudent investor, OCIO. Average portfolio value per million, 841.7. Earned income per million, 26.2. Investment return, 3.12. Endowment fund performance, and transition. The market value of the endowment fund as of September 30th, 2025 was $211.6 million. Payouts were made to the city from the fund in 2025 when the market value exceeded $200 million. Payouts from the fund in 2025 added up to $13 million, which achieved a target of 6.5% annual return. In 2025, the Endowment Fund Committee was dissolved and the assets transferred to the Prudent Investor Regime, overseen by the Ottawa Investment Board, OIB, with approvals from Council. One represents the return on the monthly average holdings in 2025 versus Note 4 in the draft consolidated financial statements, which provides the weighted average yield on investment held as of December 31st, 2025. Two represents the return on the monthly average holdings in 2025 versus Note 4 in the draft consolidated financial statements, which provides the weighted average yield on investment held as of December 31st, 2025. Long-term debt. The city issued $470 million in new long-term debt in 2025. The proceeds from the debt issues were used to finance the following types of projects. Projects financed by the proceeds from debt issued in 2025. Projects in millions. Transit, including $150 million sustainable bond. Police sustainable bond, $70 million. Ottawa Public Library sustainable bond, $35 million. Roads and bridges, $149.1 million. Sanitary and storm sewer, $61.2 million. Recreation and cultural services, $18.5 million. Water distribution services, $13.3 million. Planning and development, $3.7 million. Environmental services, $2.9 million. Total of $470 million. Total long-term debt outstanding as of December 31st, 2025 is $3.815 billion, an increase from $3.507 billion the previous year. In 2025, the city added $1.82 billion in new tangible capital assets to its inventory, increasing the total value of the city's tangible capital assets to $3.07 billion. The outstanding net long-term debt of $3.815 billion represents 11.5% of the value of the city's tangible capital assets. From a taxpayer perspective, that is equivalent to $57.7 thousand mortgage on a $500,000 home. Okay, debt levels are continuously monitored to ensure the ongoing fiscal responsibility, financial stability, and sustainability of the city. In accordance with the city's fiscal framework principles, Council established conservative debt servicing targets, where principal and interest for tax-supported debt are not to exceed 7.5% of the city's own secure revenue. And principal and interest for water and sewer rate supported debt will be limited no more than 15% of the rate revenues, for a combined target of 8.5% of total owned source revenues. The total debt with interest and principal payments for tax and rates supported long-term debt in 2025 was $186.7 million, which represents 4.66% of the city's total owned resource revenue, well below the combined 8.5% target of total owned source revenues established by Council. Short-term debt. The Treasury Branch uses short-term borrowing strategies to manage the city's cash flow and investment strategies with the goal of reducing interest costs and minimizing investment revenue in line with Council priorities and objectives. Short-term borrowing needs are addressed with two key financing vehicles: a line of credit facility and a promissory note program. During 2025, proceeds from the promissory note issuance provided advantageous short-term liquidity that enabled the city to maintain value-added short-term investment holdings. Staff issues promissory notes on a weekly basis with maturity ranging from 1 to 3 months and offset the cost by investing the proceeds in short-term conservative investments. There was $404 million of outstanding promissory notes at the end of the year, of which matured and were paid back in January 2026. The city holds a $100 million line of credit with the Royal Bank of Canada, which was not drawn against in 2025. Prudent investor standard upgrade. In 2025, the city's transition to the prudent investor regime was achieved through the following milestones. Outsource Chief Investment Officer onboarded. Mercer was selected by the Ottawa Investment Board as a successful outsource Chief Investment Officer. OCIO firm in April 2025, following a comprehensive OCIO interview and selection process. Statement of investment, policies and procedures for prudent investment approved by Council. On September 10th, 2025, ACS 2025 FCS FIN 0007. Investment plan adopted by the Ottawa Investment Board on October 14, 2025. ACS 2025 FCS 0IB0001. This plan adheres to the Council-approved Statement of Investment Policies and Procedures and outlines the steps to move funds not immediately required from the city to the OCIO for investment in the appropriate asset allocations. The endowment fund transitioned to funds managed by the outsourced Chief Investment Officer. Following Council's approval in September 2025, ACS 2025 FCS FIN 0007. The endowment fund was transitioned to the prudent portfolio and the endowment committee was dissolved. All funds under the prudent investor regime were transferred to the OCIO. By early December 2025, all city funds not immediately required were transferred to the OCIO in accordance with the board approved investment plan. The implementation phase of the prudent investor standard adopted by Council in 2025 is now considered complete, and Council will continue to receive updates through the Ottawa Investment Board's annual report. In 2025, Ottawa Investment Board report. This section represents the performance results of the prudent investment portfolio for the year ending December 31st, 2025, in accordance with the Ontario Regulation 438/97 S20 as amended. The reporting period for the first annual prudent investment report, the Council is strictly for Q4 2025, given that the transfer of funds to the OCIO took place in November and December 2025. On February the 27th, 2026, the OCIO presented the first quarterly investment performance review as of December 31st, 2025 to the Ottawa Investment Board. The extremely managed investments had an average balance of $841.7 million and earned a return of 3.12% compared to an expected return of 5.5%, generating $26.2 million in investment income. Investment funds were transferred to the OCIO in November and therefore were only active for the last 2 months of the year. The $26.2 million received in 2025 represents investment income of $6.7 million for 2 months of the year and a one-time return of distribution of realized gains used to purchase the new investments, which totaled $19.5 million. It is the opinion of the Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer, that all investments within the prudent investor regime are consistent with the municipality's investment policies and investment plan under OREG 438/97, Section 18 and 19. Annual review of the prudent investor statement of investment policy and procedure. In accordance with OREG 438/97 S 18/ at least annually, Council shall review the investment policy and update it as necessary as a result of the review. See Document 2 for the current statement of investment policies and procedures, as approved by Council on September 10th, 2025. There are no proposed updates to the policy at this time. Treasury Service Contracts Report. The Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer, is delegated the authority to enter or renew financial services contracts with various providers. In accordance with Bylaw 2025-69-69, Schedule B, Section 15, the following table lists the providers and the Treasury branch added or renewed purchasing contracts with in 2025. Fiscal service contracts for 2025. Vendor, Jupiter Energy Advisors. Vendor number 382324, 382324. Purchase order 0045102647, 0045106358. New or renewal or increase in 2025, increase in 2025. Term June 2026 to May 2028, April 2026 to March 2028, approximately per tax 37,656 and 39,864. Financial implications. Investment strategies have the goal of maximizing the city's investment holding risk adjusted returns that are aligned with council objectives and risk tolerance. Long-term debt is implemented to fund capital projects and equitably spread project costs amongst the ultimate users over time. Short-term debt is implemented to manage the city's cash flows and investment strategies, with the goal of reducing interest costs and maximizing investment revenue in line with council priorities and objectives. Legal implications. There are no legal impediments to approving the recommendations in this report, pursuant to subsection 418.1, bracket 2 of the Municipal Act 2001. A municipality may enact a bylaw to have section 418.1 of the Municipal Act 2001 apply in order to adopt the prudent investor regime in respect of investments made by municipality, as further described in this report. The investments made pursuant to the Prudent Investor Enabling Bylaw 2022-317 are being carried out through an investment board in accordance with the requirements of section 418.1 of the Act and Regulation 438-97. Period. Accessibility impacts. Finance and corporate services adheres to the requirements of the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability Act in 2005. In its operations, programs, and initiatives, this report is administrative in nature and has no associated accessibility impacts, environmental impacts, implications. Executing the prudent investor regime expands the opportunities to evaluate environmental, social, and governance strategies to investing the city's investment funds. Risk management implications. There are financial risk implications to investing. The city's investment portfolio under prudent investor is expected to increase diversification in comparison to the current investment portfolios. Under prudent investor, it is anticipated that the city will increase its risk-adjusted investment returns, which means the city will be better compensated for taking the same level of risk. By outsourcing to an outsourced chief investment officer through the investment board, the city can benefit from the OCIO's sophisticated risk management capabilities. The Statement of Investment Policies and Procedures considered council's risk tolerance and identifies eligible investment asset classes. The Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer, has the duty to report to council any investment that is not consistent with the investment policy. Compliance will also be monitored by the OCIO and the investment board through a third-party investment custodian. Rural implications. There are no rural implications associated with this report. In terms of council priorities, this report supports the current 2023 to 2026 term of council priorities, as well as the city's ongoing commitment to financial sustainability and transparency. Support and documentation. Document 1, 2025, City of Ottawa Holdings. Document 2, Statement of Investment Policies and Procedures for Prudent Investor Portfolios, September 2025. Document 3, Statement of Investment Policies and Procedures for Internal Managed Funds, December 2025. Disposition. Following Council's approval, Finance and Corporate Services Department staff will carry out the recommendation as presented in this report. H2O boy.